1969, the University of Illinois campus reaches the boiling point. Faculty desperately struggle to find a way to open up the lines of communications with students.
We were doing one program, one noon hour, and John O'Connor, the cornet player, came by and he said, "How are things going?" And I said, "Well, pretty well, except there was a lot of tension still." And he, whether facetiously or not, said, "What you need here is some jazz."
So 25 years ago, Dan Perino made a few phone calls, scared up 7 other musicians, and bravely marched them into the South Lounge of the Student Union.
We started with about 70 or 75 students, and it ended up with wall-to-wall people, both students and faculty and administrators, and we were playing the Saints, and they were hand-clapping, there were smiles on their faces, and that's how it began.
What started as a one-time event turned into a weekly jam session on the quad. Dan never knew how many musicians might show up, giving the jazz group its name, Mediacare 7, 8, or 9.
The first performance we thought would be the last. There were absolutely no plans to stay together or to organize ourselves into a group or anything of the sort.
But stay together they did. 4 members of the original group still play with the band regularly. Over the years, other musicians have come and gone. In the quarter century, over 120 musicians have played under the Mediacare banner, performing across the state and across the country. The only requirement for membership, a connection with the U of I and a love of jazz. Mediacare 7, 8, or 9 has never gone out and sought engagements. They perform only by request. After 25 busy years, the requests are still coming.
We have engagements to 1996, so it's without trying.
Mediacare performances are loose, almost ad-lib. The musicians staying true to the roots of a pickup jazz band.
We don't rehearse, so what we do is we have what we call a lead line, the melody and the chord structure. The musicians are good enough musicians that they can just play it right on site.
Medicare's Vintage Dixie-land has been good enough to keep them in demand. The Penn State Alumni Club, their most recent jam session, and this week's kid concerts at Krannert Center, part of a continuing effort to keep jazz alive for yet another generation, showing the human heart and soul of old-fashioned jazz in an age of computer sampling and digital remixes.
It's important to go back to our roots and to know how jazz began, and that's what we do with the children. We try to tell them the story of how jazz began, and we demonstrate it. Passing along the universal language of an American art form, just like they did 25 years ago. Well, I still don't have an explanation as to why it's all happened the way it has.
Chalk it up to the magic of Dixieland jazz.